the other element that I think it's kind of gets lost sometimes in the national and global discussion is what type of chargers do we need? You mentioned a lot of level 2. We're going to need some DC fast chargers. What speed, what power of DC fast chargers? You've got some vehicles coming on that can absorb a 350 kilowatt charger.
Yeah.
Right now there's one. The anticipation is that number is going to grow, but 350 kilowatt charging station is much more expensive than a 100 kilowatt charging station, and much more expensive than level 2. So how do we start right sizing the deployment to get the best bang for our buck, to make sure we're servicing the customers with what they need, but not wasting money or building assets that are going to sit there unutilized and just sucking in capital?
Yeah, it's another fundamental, foundational question that we need to have answered, and you can't answer it from the top down. You have to be thinking about this from the ground up and regionalizing and contextualizing the answer, because what happens and what's needed in New York is different than what's going to be happening and needed in Houston. And considering those constraints, we need to think about how we're going to leverage the level 2 technology or a variety of level 3 levels of speed and technology. So what I think is, and I'm going to be candid here, I think opinions are starting to shift on DC fast charge.
Okay.
L2 is by and large the most effective way to provide public charging. Excuse me, the most cost-effective way to provide public charging. It might not always be the most effective way. And so as we look at the demand, we've got these cars that are going to have 300-ish mile range. There's more than one now that can receive 350 kilowatts or better. I mean, every day, right? But Consumer Electronics Show this week has shown there's been a expansion of that. But the point I'm making is it needed to have a bunch of 350 kilowatt chargers out there? No.
That's a lot of money.
No, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of real estate. Buying the chargers alone is going to cost a lot of money, but installing them is going to be even more, because you need to put in transformers, you need to adapt the electricity grid, you need to have certain thresholds with how far away the transformers are to the charging stations and all this. So I think ideally what we're going to see the market evolve from is the 6 to 12 kilowatt level 2 chargers that are, I would say, commoditized today. They're pretty widely distributed and easy to find, and usually pretty low cost, if not free, to a lower speed DC fast charge. To be candid, I believe that 50 kilowatt range is maybe like the Goldilocks zone. Because when you go into 150 kilowatt and 350 kilowatt, first of all, you might not have cars that can even receive that much. And secondly, it's really cost prohibitive to put some of that stuff in. Whereas the level 2 charging, depending upon who you ask, that could also be useless. I mean, if you have a Lucid Air charging on a 6.6 kilowatt level 2 charger, that's still going to take you over a day. So
right.
How do we find that happy medium? Well, there's 50 to 100 kilowatt, DC fast chargers in that Goldilocks zone that are relatively inexpensive, don't require as much infrastructure to install, and could provide that nice happy medium between on-demand charging for quick access and quick refills, or relatively quick refills, as well as the 3 to 4 hour dwell times that people are going to be experiencing when they just charge where they park, right?
It's so interesting, because I talk to a lot of people about this, and I've got some out there saying level 2 is the bread and butter. We need a bunch of level 2. I've got others saying, man, anything under 150 kilowatt is just a waste of money. Those 50 kilowatt, they're dinosaurs. We're never going to, they're useless. But the difference is you're taking the approach the same way I am, because I agree with you. You have to look at the site, the use case scenario, the consumer travel patterns. What do they need? Mm-hmm. Not everybody needs to get 70 miles in 15 minutes. Some people just need to pick up 10 to 15 miles in 10, 15 minutes, or even more. Yeah. There's so many different use cases. Maybe if you're on a highway, long commute, long cross country, you need that higher power to get people back on the road. But if you're in a small community where people drive 20, 30 miles a day, maybe you don't need that. Maybe the 50 kilowatt makes sense. And the 50 kilowatts going to cost you less to get into it. It's going to cost you less to operate it. It's going to give you an ROI on that investment a lot faster than that 350 kilowatt would. So, I mean, I love this approach. The bottom up approach is how we're going to optimize the use of money, is how we're going to build an infrastructure that actually benefits the site host and the consumer in the most efficient way. And we need to have a lot more discussions like this, because I get laughed out of conversations a lot when I start talking about 50 kilowatt chargers. And it's like, well, in certain cases, maybe that's all you need. And why waste the money if you don't need to?
Yeah.